All right, I'm going to show you how to add appendages to your monster. And of course, it all is going to depend on your plan. My monster, I'm keeping it, fairly straightforward. It has one head, two arms and two legs and a tail. So again, it's up to you. Maybe you have more than one head, maybe you have more than one leg or multiple tails or wings. But how do you actually add appendages? What can you do to build them? So make sure you have the body of your monster completed. You'll have to decide at some point where's the front going to be. And at this point, you should have also added a hole at the bottom of your monster. This is so the air can escape when it's fired and your piece won't blow up. So if you've not added a hole yet, make sure you do that. Also, you'll probably notice that I've been storing it on this piece of wood that's covered with a plastic bag. That is so when I put this in a plastic bag, it's on a flat surface and the wood won't absorb the liquid from the clay, and then I can save it in another bag, right? And it's all stored. Also, you shouldn't be wrapping your project with wet paper towels. You shouldn't be soaking this with water because, like, if I soak this with water, it's actually going to start to break apart. It'll crack and fall apart. So there shouldn't be any reason that you're adding moisture to this. All I'm doing right now is just smoothing it out. But how do you add appendages? So of course you want to reference your plan. My monster has two arms that are like kind of hugging on the front of its body. So I guess I'm still kind of figuring out where the front is going to be. Well, I mean, you can kind of look at the side of the head also to figure out where that's going to be. And again, you can still keep refining. You still can keep refining the head. I've been trimming the neck once in a while because I don't want to lose the neck. So again, there's so many different tools. So you can still keep refining the body, but of course, once you start adding appendages, then then you're kind of committed. So I guess, let's see. I guess this will be the front. This will be the front. So his arms are going to come out here. And what's the current height of my monster? The current height is, wow, it's about 5 inches. So this is a great height. Again, I said your monster should be about 3 to 4 inches tall. 5 inches would be the kind of the limit. I wouldn't go any bigger. How wide is he though? He is about 3.5 inches. So again, I said 3 to 5 inches wide. Now my monster is sitting. Yours might be standing up, but if it's standing up, I would say with this head and this body, it's too heavy. It's not going to support the legs. So if your monster is standing on its side though, like the legs are coming out here, then you have to actually make them a bit thick. But remember, you can't have clay thicker than your thumb. So what I did was I took some clay that I had wedged and I've just pulled out some pieces. Now this clay is too small for me to wedge, so I'm just going to mush it up in my hands. But again, you want to make sure you don't have any air pockets. And looking at my drawing, right, looking at my drawing here, I'm seeing these thicker coils. Again, a coil is like a rolled out piece of clay, so something kind of like this. And I can flatten it. And again, we don't want to have clay thicker than your thumb, so, we don't want really flat pieces. That would be kind of weird. But what I'm doing is I'm just visually looking at my plan and I'm just shaping the clay into the form that I want. So this is when you can do a lot more modeling, modeling with your hands and manipulating the clay. Just make sure it's plastic. It'll be easier to work with. And I am going to smooth it out though. And then I'll have to decide which part is going to be the part where the claws are going to go. So here's my piece. Again, I'm not going to put texture on it or anything. I'm going to put up texture once I have everything attached. It's going to be easier. But see, now I can add his arm kind of like right there. So let's see. Yeah, because I want him to have shoulders, and we can build this up, right? So there's one of his arms right there, but of course we need to attach it. But before we even attach it, I do need to create the second arm. I don't want to make one arm and attach it and do all the work and then realize that maybe the other arm is too short. So again, I'm just taking some clay, mushing it in my hands because this is too small for me to wedge. That would be ridiculous. So I'm going to just get this all smushed up, manipulate it kind of into a flattened coil. Again, I'm rolling the coil with my hand, and then I'm just going to add some water to get this smoothed out. It's easier to smooth out your clay when the clay is wet. Why aren't you focusing? There we go. So obviously, if you're attaching two arms, you kind of want them to be similar thicknesses, similar widths, though I am going to trim these because I'm realizing I made them a little too long. But again, we don't want them super thick. We can always, there's some tricks you can do to make them thicker. So wow, one arm is actually longer than the other. That's not helpful. So we're gonna do some cutting. Whoops. And whoops. Okay. Still gonna smooth this out, get this all manipulated and modeled and into the form that I want. And then I'm going to look at my monster and decide where I want to put the arms. Do I want them to be like that? Because I thought maybe he can hold some fake flowers too, because again, he's supposed to be kind of peaceful. So can I attach it where maybe his hands are going to meet together actually, like that? So I'm only going to, the clay's wet, that's why it's sticking, but you need to score and slip because once this clay dries out, this will fall off. So I'm going to score right here. And how did I know where to score? I looked at where this was placed. And I'm going to score part of this. I'm not going to score the whole arm because it's not going to be attached completely to the surface. Part of the arm is going to stick out. And then I already have my slip ready to go. I have my paintbrush. I put slip on it. There we go. Now that's attached. And I'm not going to work too much right now on getting that all smoothed out because I want to get this other arm on there first because again, I want them to kind of meet up. And I'm kind of losing the form, so I'm going to go back and just manipulate this form a little bit more. And then we're going to score this. And there we go. Slip, attach. Right, so now I've got two arms. I need to move this a little bit though so they will meet together. Now what do I need to do? I actually need to do some work. I need to actually smooth this together, and because I have slip that's seeped out of it, I can use that to my advantage. I can blend this with my finger. I can blend it with some sculpting tools. That can also make it easier. Sometimes our fingers are just a little too big. But you want to make sure you blend all of your attachments, whether it's arms, legs, wings, horns. You want to blend them together so they look like they're actually part of the form. Again, see how it's not completely touching all of the body? Now this part's a little bit awkward, so I am going to go in with this end of the sculpting tool and just try to blend this together as best as I can. Then I can always take a paintbrush and actually blend that together as well. I dipped it in some water just so it had some liquid to help smooth it out. And there we go. There is one blended arm. Now for the foot, the leg, again, my monster is sitting. So, again, once you get the arm blended, you can still work on it. You can still add things. Obviously, you want to add your textures and whatnot. But for the foot, again, I'm looking at my drawing, thinking about how can I make it look like he's sitting with his legs sticking out. I have clay in my hand here. I'm just kind of mushing it up. This is not quite wedging, but it is. The whole point is getting it kind of mixed up, malleable. So I am seeing two parts for my monster. I'm seeing the leg and the foot. So a little bit long for the leg, but I can manipulate this into a flattened coil. And you're like, well, why another flattened coil? Because for my particular monster, that's the form I want for the legs. I want the legs and the feet and the arms to kind of match. I don't want them to be disjointed. So I just cut that off. This is still too thick, so I do need to work on getting this. You know what? He doesn't need really chunky legs. He doesn't need chunky legs. I mean, it's a monster, right? They're not always proportional. So I could just take this leg and just stick it on, but it's not going to be very structurally sound. I want it to sit on the table. So what I'm going to do, make sure I have 2 of these, is I'm actually going to flatten this part right here. Then this part tucks underneath the body. It's going to tuck underneath. So I'll show you. I'm going to score this. Again, I'm only going to do one leg and foot in this demo. I did 2 arms. So that part is scored. It's going to go underneath the belly. I want to make sure it's actually going to line up properly. And I'm going to score right down here as well. Slip, attach. Now, of course, because it's wet, I can also blend this together, which makes it easier. Don't make sure you don't blend the whole by accident, but now I've got this part of his leg attached. If I want, you want to make sure it's securely attached. Note that the clay is plastic, so it's still a little bendable and flexible, so you want to be gentle. I'm actually going to take my paintbrush and just blend a little bit in there. No textures yet either, no textures. But now, one last part, the foot. The foot. And by the way, if you're adding a tail, wings, it's similar. You want to build the form first before you add it to the body. You want to build that first. So I'm imagining his foot kind of being this flattened, ovalish, thick piece of clay. Obviously, I'll need 2 of them. But then what I can do, again, I'm going off of my drawing here. This is thick enough. I'm going to actually attach it like that, so it's sticking up. And I can always add more to this. I could thicken it out a little bit, but let me first get this attached so I can show you. Again, you want him to be resting on the monster resting on the table, so that can all start to get set up. Now notice how I put him on his side, so it'd be easier for me to score. And there you go. There is a foot that's been attached. It's sticking up just like in my drawing. Now, obviously, I need to do some work. I need to get this all blended together. And I don't want it to look like a human, so I am probably going to do a little bit of carving. Let me show you. If I decide I don't like this actual thickness, I can take my ribbon tool and I can actually carve away some of the form of the arm. Now just note, because the clay is wet, it is going to move around a bit. So this might be a little bit easier to deal with when the clay is leather hard, but again, you make that decision on when you want to do that. But you can still tweak your appendages as you're working on your project, as long as they have moisture. See, and then I can actually start, start shaping this as well. So you can do some carving with your ribbon tool, which makes it a little bit easier. I'm probably going to do some carving with his leg as well. So that's your demo, adding appendages, your arms, legs, tail, wings are the same process.